So today's lesson is asking us what happens when our equation looks like y is equal to ax squared plus c. Now, you know from before that I told you the general form. Remember, we called this the standard form of the quadratic was y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, right? So, you know what this means? This is gone, i.e. the b value is equal to 0. So guess what? All the stuff that we studied before applies to this lesson. Okay, so there's nothing else to do other than to show you how to do this using these specific problems. Now, here is a basic problem. All right, so example. Here's the example of the work that we've got. So the example is this. So let's say that I got the equation y is equal to, let's say, negative, let's say 5x squared plus 605. So here is the thing. Let's say that I ask you to find the y-intercept, and I want you to find the x-intercepts. And I want you to tell me if there's a max or a min. Okay? And if I ever asked you, I could ask you to find the maximum or minimum. Okay? Now, here's what we do. Let's say I need to find the y-intercept. So when I want to find the y-intercept, you're going to let x equals 0 in our original equation. So you're going to get y is equal to negative 5 times 0 squared plus 605. So my y-intercept is 605. And the reason why that is because negative 5 times 0 is gone. So you end up with your y-intercept being 605. And then you just sort of indicate that this is our y-intercept. Okay? So we got our y-intercept. So now imagine if I asked you to next take a moment and find the x-intercept. Okay, now when we're finding the x-intercept, this is what we have to do. For the x-intercept, you're going to do this. X-int. So you're going to go x-intercept. You're going to let's go y equals 0 in this case. Just like how we did when we were finding our x-intercepts when we were looking for the x-intercepts in a line. So now let's do our solution. So you let y equal 0. So you get 0 is equal to negative 5 x squared plus 605. So here is the thing that I'm going to let you know. I would never make you do anything that I couldn't do. Okay? Now, I know your brains are kind of wrapped around this, but remember that quick practice that we did in the past unit? If you're not sure, go and take a look in the description at the bottom of the YouTube video. There's a link to the exact spot where we did the quick evaluation where we pulled out the common factor. Okay, in this case, with a problem like this, one, you have to common factor if you can, i.e. find the GCF. The GCF of this is negative 5. So I'm going to pull off negative 5 right out of the beginning. So you're going to get 0 is equal to negative 5 bracket. And we're going to copy everything we had before. Negative 5x squared plus 605. And then we're going to divide everything by negative 5, i.e. the number that's sitting in front here. Okay, So now you're left with the following. You're left with -5. Hate that color. -5 equals 0. And then you have x squared, because -5 divided by -5 is 1. So the negative goes away. But then the -5 and the +5 from the -5 and the positive that's here make this number a negative. So we end up with 121. So 605 divided by 5 is 121. So now we have to factor this. Now, as an aside, you do some math. So this is our 2. We have to factor the brackets. All right. So now here's our aside. So we have x squared minus 121. Whoa. Hey, the square root of x squared is equal to x, and the square root of 121 is equal to 11. Wow, that's a difference of squares. So this says 0 is equal to -5, x plus 11, and x minus 11. Now, just like our last lesson that we studied, right? Here's what we're going to do. In order to find the x-intercepts, otherwise known as the zeros, here's what we do. We take the stuff that's in brackets and we say x plus 11 equals 0, or x minus 11 equals 0, and then we just solve individually. So in this case, on the right side, x is equal to 11, and on the left side, you're going to get x is equal to minus 11. So you could say, so the x-intercepts are x equals -11 and x equals +11. Wow, that's it. No biggie. So just a quick review of what we did. When we did a problem like this, where we set 0 and we're trying to find our y-intercepts, right? What we want to do is we want to let y equal 0. So when we're finding our x-intercepts, we let y equal 0, and then we factor. Now, the first part that you have to do is you have to common factor by finding the GCF. Now, the GCF is always the leading coefficient that's in front of here. So if I had 5, I would have pulled off 5. If I have -5, I'm going to pull out -5. And that makes our math easy, right? Now, the next thing that you have to do is you have to go and factor. And then once you factor, you can solve and find your y-intercepts. Now, sorry, your x-intercepts by setting the factored form of these things equal to 0. So each of these linear factors are set to 0, and then you get x is equal to 11 and x is equal to minus 11. So you could say your x-ins are -11 and 11. So now let's go back to our problem. At the beginning, it said we need to find whether this is a maximum or a minimum. Now, so for C, for the maximum, is this a max? So is this a max or a min? So here's the rule. Start with your basic equation. Y is equal to -5 x squared plus 605. So now let's go and take a look at this. The key is to always do this. Look at the term with x squared. Okay, in this case, we have -5. -5 on the front tells us the quadratic, also known as the parabola, the thing that we graph, is a sad parabola. Opens down. So this means it's a max. And that's it. Now, if I ever asked you, I could ask you to go and calculate the maximum or the minimum, right? And that's it. So remember, in this case, our graph is opening down like this. So that means we're going to have a maximum showing up at its vertex. All right. So for your homework, what I want you to do is so for homework, what I want you to do is I want you to do page 341, 2A, C, E, and D. Now for D, so for A through C, you're going to use the basic stuff that we studied at the beginning of this lesson. But for D, this is annoying. I want you to use Desmos, and I want you to explain what the heck is going on. Okay? Explain in your own words. After you've done your math, why doesn't the math jive? And then why does your graph look the way it does? And can you make a correlation between the fact that it doesn't jive and what you see on the graph? Finally, I want you to do a little investigation. You're going to do question number 1A. All right, and you're going to use Desmos, and you're going to order these graphs from skinny to fattest, and I want you to answer the following questions, okay? These questions are this. If A is a fraction, what do you notice? If A is bigger than 1, what do you notice? Okay? All right, that's it. Get to it.